Hello, we're going to be talking about grief tonight. One of the um, subjects that comes up around grief for for us as people who have worked in the mental health system, and also for me personally, experiencing grief. Um, there's a certain resistance to processing, to healing, to transforming grief. It's like we kind of get used to having a certain way of being in our life. And even if it's a negative way of being, being chronically depressed or, habitually in a grieving state, um, it's really hard to get out of it, to go to a place of thinking where, gosh, maybe I can change the way I'm feeling right now. And, and, whereas the feeling sometimes in the body is, this is the way I feel. It's the way I'm always going to feel. That's how it feels. It feels like this is how I'm always going to feel. And so that must be true. So a lot of times we kind of resign to a feeling that is long term in us, and we just let it have its way with us. Um,
Well, it also there's another part to it that I for lack of a better term, or maybe it is a good term, I call it the political component of grieving. I think it's not that uncommon that if you try to nudge somebody who's grieving toward, or at least suggest that maybe maybe there's an improvement available to you somewhere, that things can get better, you can start to feel better, that sometimes there is this resistance and people can take offense, as if by suggesting that they can feel better, you're also suggesting that they don't really,
they're doing it wrong.
well, that they don't love that person that they're grieving for,
Oh, yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, if I feel better, then it must mean my love for that person was not as high quality as I thought it was, or
Right.
something like that. Which is really unfortunate to connect feeling better with whether or not we we are loving that person enough. I think they're just two totally separate subjects. The love we feel for our loved ones who have left us, it's there. It's not going to go away. No matter what you do, you can get happier, you can get sadder, and the love is just going to be the love. I mean, but there's this strange phenomenon that, if I behave like I feel better, then people are going to think that, you know, I didn't love enough. It's totally not true.
I wonder.
J Words 20, thank you for the gifts. That's lovely. Um, well, let me tell you one thing about in the last few years, since I was able to heal this is the language I use. I use the language I healed my grief. Okay. When I use that language, other people in the grief community who I know personally, they come back to me with a lot of interesting responses. Like, oh, I'm glad that worked for you. But for me, this is as good as it gets. Yeah. And they're still holding on to a ton of anger about what happened, or they're um, or even they just can't see the sadness ever leaving, you know. Um, and so when I suggest, you know, based on experience, not on theory, but on actual experience, that feeling better is a possibility, I am met with so much resistance. And it kind of breaks my heart a little bit because I want people to feel better. Who doesn't want to feel better? Um,
Hmm.
um,
Oh, here we go.
oh,
J Words 20. That's why I just ask, how are you doing? Because you can't tell anyone that it will be okay. Yeah. Well, I think asking,
Oh,
how are
yeah.
you doing, is the most clear, honest way of relating.
Right.
You're asking.
And Jay Word says some people don't heal, and that is true. There are people who uh, will not will not heal. My dad, after my mom died, you know, there was just he died a little, I think a little over a year after she died, and you know, he was not interested in healing. He just wanted to like be done with his life as well. You know, he ended up getting sick, but it's like
Wow.
there's this sadness. You know, they say a lot of couples that have been together a long time, one dies, the other one dies right afterwards.
I've seen that happen.
Yeah, my parents were that way, and you know, so there was no healing for him. The only healing was his own, you know, passing, and
Was he depressed?
no,
Oh.
not really. I mean, he was, I don't know, he just didn't really like not having her around, you know. You know, but he was almost, they were both almost 70.
Imagine that.
I know. So yeah, there are those who will not recover, but in for a lot of us, you know, we're not old and we want to have a life in the future that feels fulfilling and satisfying, and so to have a grief experience in your life that comes early, to hold on to that experience for the entire rest of your life, for whatever reason, to me just doesn't make sense. Like, don't you want to feel better? Don't you want to, like, and it's not like, it's not get over it. It's not move on. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm talking about a healing that changes the person. Because when I was broken, I could not see the possibility that I would ever feel better because the situation was unchangeable.
Did you not want to see it, or did you just not, you were not able to see it? I mean, if someone told you, hey, it's possible, you know, you could start to feel better, would you have been offended by that? Or
Nobody ever said that to me. But I probably would have said, okay, how? How do you do it?
okay.
Like, because I'm a curious person. I like to learn. I like to experiment. I like to, you know, I like to solve problems. In fact, a lot of humans love to solve problems, you know. And so, but it just seemed unsolvable. It was like, I think I'm gonna feel like this for the rest of my life, and nobody was telling me otherwise. And so I didn't have anybody to guide me, and that's why we're doing these TikTok videos, these lives, because we want to start a conversation about what if it's possible to totally heal. What if it's possible? Can we entertain that subject, and play with it?
We have an interesting comment from Jay Words. On my profile, I wrote, when we lose a loved one, it just reminds us that this isn't our permanent home. So the way things are, I mean, what I take from that, the way things are now, nothing lasts forever.
This is true.
And it's true of your loved one. And if you happen to love your house, that won't be here after some period of time, and
Right.
you won't own it, and it all goes away. And I guess
There is, I think it's called the law of impermanence.
there you go.
And everything is impermanent. And a lot of us, we become so attached to our life experiences, a person who's in our lives, a business that we think is going to be there for us forever, and it's not. I mean, think about Blockbuster Video. It doesn't exist anymore. Who would have
Right.
thought that? It
Right.
doesn't exist. So, there are lots of things that come in and then
What did the
they go
Pan
away.
American Airlines was like the biggest anywhere, and now it's
yeah.
non-existent.
Doesn't
and,
exist. Yeah.
yeah.
And it is the natural order of things. I mean, imagine our world if death didn't exist. If everything just continued to proliferate and pile upon itself, the world would be uninhabitable. It would be really terrible. And so on a certain level, we can say that, death is an effective natural process that helps sustain creation.
Hi, Patricia. Join. Welcome.
So,
So, when we talk about losing loved ones, that everybody has to die, okay, and nothing's going to be forever, no one is going to be forever. But I think there's a distinction we need to make between people dying, in other words, their physical bodies dying, and our relationship with that person dying. And I think the hard thing about death is that it feels like the relationship has gone away. And maybe it has. I'm not going to commit too strongly to the opposite position on that. I mean, I think that's what's painful. It's like that person is gone. My relationship with that person is over. But then on the other hand, there are things that don't go away about that relationship, particularly everything that you feel and think about that person. Would you agree?
right? A memory is an actual thing, and it does not go away. Viktor Frankl wrote a book many years ago about the concentration camps in
Nazi Germany.
Nazi Germany, and he realized while he was there and as a prisoner that there were many things about his life that were being controlled by others, guards, soldiers, even other prisoners. But there were some things that were untouchable by any of those others, and those were the memories of his wife and his family, that he could escape in his mind from this place where he was and go to those memories, and those memories sustained him in that experience.
And the desire and belief and faith that he could reunite with certain family members, and that he could have a life after the concentration camp. And
Right.
in fact, that was one of the points of his book. He saw that people who had no hope perished really quickly in that environment, and those who wanted to continue on. I'm sure everybody wanted to continue on, but those who were determined, I guess, and
Right.
and strongly influenced by their desire and belief that they can have a life after this experience, are the ones that survive much better.
Right. It's really a beautiful book. If you've not read it, it's really
It's an
a
amazing
special
book.
book.
It's an
It's
account.
called the
Man's Search for
Man's
Meaning.
Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, Frankel, I think. So excellent book. Every human should read it. It's just that good.
Well, it's a real inside view of the concentration camps and the dynamics and relationships and what occurred. And the whole point of the book was offering, from his observations, how people could have survived those horrendous experiences there.
But also, it was a book also about enduring suffering. And that's what we're doing when we're in an active grieving state. We're enduring a state of deep suffering. And
I just want to bring up one point on the subject of that book. Something that very much impressed me that he talked about in there, and I think this has to do with an attitude of surrender. He talked about how every day the prisoners were questioned by the guards on various subjects, and he could see people trying to provide the guards with the answers, with the right answers,
the right answer.
the right answers that would keep them alive. And he said he observed pretty quickly you couldn't predict the right answers. So he made his own personal, what the right answers are supposed to be. And he saw people trying to provide the right answers and dying as a result. And he decided, he said, he's just going to go with the truth and maintain his integrity. And whatever he was quizzed about, he would just tell the truth. Amazingly, he lived through the whole thing.
And wrote a book.
Through all of that. But I think it's a very beautiful statement, because so often we think we have to fake it in the world. And there he was under the worst possible conditions and maintaining his integrity and telling the truth, which to me, that's like that's an attitude of surrender. I surrender to the truth. I surrender to life. I'm not playing games here. I'm just living, living authentically.
That is surrender. It takes some courage
a lot of courage
to surrender, because when you're surrendering to an unknown, you don't know what's going to happen, and it takes quite a bit of courage.
We're getting comments too. We should take a look at it. Here.
Glad you guys have a topic like this. You all can't make a segment called The Healing Corner.
You all can't make a segment? I'm not sure if that came out right. Called The Healing Corner. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
There's some previous comments too that we didn't get to look at.
This isn't our permanent home. All we can do is take the memories of them with us as we continue our journey.
Right.
Yes, memories are wonderful little gems and treasures. I love memories. Although at times it was the memories that would trigger for me a deep state of suffering, because I was so mad that was all I had, It was like,
right.
It was like, and
I was going to ask
I
you
wanted
about
so
that.
much more.
Did you come to a point where the memories were enhanced by something else, or there was more than just memories, or how was that for on your journey?
So, well, let me back up just a little bit. Is there a tissue around here?
I can get a tissue.
Got a little bit of a runny nose.
I'm a therapist. I have tissues everywhere.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So we started tonight out talking about how people have a lot of resistance towards me when I suggest that healing grief is a very real possibility. And I understand that resistance because I participated in it for 8 years. And then something happened and I started to explore other options. Like maybe there is some way to solve this problem. And I did solve the problem. But one of the problems that I had in the very beginning was I had a belief that my loved one was gone forever, 0 contact, 0 availability, 0 relationship, gone, just gone, like gone. And that belief system that I carried with me was a source of a lot of my suffering. And belief systems are tricky little buggers because there are many of them out there, and people can believe all kinds of things about the state of what happens when somebody is no longer in their body. And I don't really want to get into like what is true. You get into all kinds of debates and things. But just playing with the idea that my loved one is available on some level, somehow, in some way that I don't know of, it was all a mystery still. But I started to entertain the idea that maybe the nature of reality is not what I thought it was. And maybe my loved one is available. I still didn't know. I didn't know for sure. But I will tell you that even just playing with a new perspective like that was so significant for me to open up the possibility. It became like a puzzle to be solved. Okay, let's find this. Let's study this. Let's learn about this. Let's see where all these beliefs came from. Let's see, so I started to educate myself a little bit, and no, I don't have like ghosts in my house. I don't experience.
Oh, really?
Well, well, sweet. I don't know. We'll go back to that story in a minute. But it's like playing with a new idea opened up a whole new world to me, and that world had so many other things to experiment with. And when I started to experiment with different things that I'd never thought of before, I started to feel better. And I'm like, this is amazing. More people need to do this, Let's see what kind of comments.
So we're talking about the memories.
You miss talking to them and seeing them.
Right.
Here's 2 more new messages. That's supposed to say
Oh.
Yeah, typo. Got that. So here's what I discovered about missing them and not seeing them. Okay. So, this is kind of when we have an experience in life, when humans have a nice experience, we go to a nice restaurant and the service is just fantastic. The food is awesome. And our company that we're with is wonderful. And it's just a lovely evening. And, you have a great experience. And what is your natural reaction to that? Your body says, wow, that feels nice. I like this. And then the next day you go, I want to do that again. Like, that was so fun. Let's do it again, And so that's kind of like the nature of how humans are. We have an experience. We love it. We want to do it again. And the problem is that when we have a loved one, we have an experience of living life with them, and we enjoy it very much, and we go, oh, this is so nice. And then when they leave, when their body has to leave this world, now we're like, we have that same, but I want to do that again. But I want to have that experience again. And so we have this craving for the experience of their presence. And that's perfectly natural. I still crave to have the experience of having my son's body and his words and his voice and, the smell of him. I mean, I still crave that. So cravings are not bad. But what I learned is that what we enjoyed about that experience was a felt sensation in the body. So you go to a restaurant and you have a nice meal and you eat and all that, and your body says, oh, that was so good. I'm so satisfied. Your body is talking to you because you had an experience. Okay, so the experience comes, the body reacts. And so we think now that, okay, my loved one is gone, so I can no longer have that experience, therefore I can never have that body experience of satisfaction. And what I discovered is that the mind is incredibly powerful. You can create an experience in the mind that creates in your body a feeling of deep satisfaction. And even though intellectually I know that I just created this in my mind, this story, this fantasy, okay, this fantasy of my son being here, my body enjoyed the experience of the imaginary fantasy of him being here. And my body started to heal and it started to feel better.
Wow.
And so it's kind of a long story, but can you see the analogy of having an experience, having a body sensation, desiring it again? It's not available, but you can recall a memory.
Did you do this like in meditation?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's, you got to calm your body down. That's one of the other things that's kind of essential for healing grief. Grief is such a body sensation. The body is like, ugh, I do not like this feeling. It's vibrating with angst. And that physical angst that the body is feeling has got to be calmed down. And some people say time heals. Well, it really can't unless the body calms down first. So
I think part of the truth of time heals is because you just can't stay totally obsessively focused on the pain forever. I mean, the more time passes, as long as you stay alive, you're going to have other experiences and your attention is diverted, and you may have moments of happiness, and you certainly will, and you'll have experiences of well-being, and not every moment will you be obsessed with thinking about
right.
the loss and thinking of it as a terrible thing.
Right. We talked a little
And
bit
so
about
time
that
does-
last
so
night.
Time does heal. I know it's an old platitude,
Yeah.
but it does. And I honestly, I this is another one of those things. When my mother passed away, it was the mother of a friend who dropped a card to me in the mail. Passed away was the mother of a friend who dropped a card to me in the mail. Anyway,
Is everybody
she
back?
said, "Time heals all wounds." It was the first time I had heard it. I was in my early 20s, mid 20s. And I thought it was so nice, and it stayed with me, and it actually sustained me over, periods of time, really. It's like, oh, it does get better. There's hope in that statement. I know sometimes these pat phrases and platitudes can be offensive to people, but it was the first time I had heard it, and I liked it then, and I actually still like it.
And there is truth. I mean, it does take time. We live in a reality where time is a real part of our existence here. Like last night, we were talking about, was it last night or one of our videos? We talked about the full expression of grief and how if we don't express it fully, it can keep coming up, and so in time, we are working out all the expressions of the grief, and getting them fully out there is important. And the thing that takes time is when we keep stopping the processing of it, it takes longer to get it out. So who doesn't want to feel better sooner? Like if I had known the things I know now, 10 years ago, I could have avoided a lot of suffering. And that's why I want to do these talks, is because I want to invite a new dialogue about the suffering of grief, that it is very common to consider it, a lifelong experience, but it's not for me, and I know it's not for other people. I've met other people who are doing quite well.
But you know a lot through some of the associations and groups you were a part of. Would you say that you've encountered people there who perpetuate the grief, who keep it going?
Yeah.
And
When I joined support groups, I wanted to know that, you know, maybe somebody had some knowledge that I didn't have, you know, that could help me feel better. And so I joined all these support groups, Compassionate Friends, Helping Parents Heal. I really like Helping Parents Heal, actually. They're wonderful. They're all good, but I really like Helping Parents Heal. Um, but but a support group I found has a lot of people who are, what's the word, early in their processes, okay? Like I had a certain belief system about my experience, you know, and so our belief systems are going to influence the process. So there were a lot of people. In fact, just the other day, somebody had posted, "When is this pain going to stop? When will this pain stop?" And hundreds and hundreds of comments came in, and the answer was never, never. When you die, never. It'll be with you forever. It's a forever experience. I mean, it just went on and on and on, and it broke my heart because.
What is that about? Does anyone out there relate to that? It's like, does that make sense that you, or make sense to you that somebody else would say that? As a response, when's it going to stop? Never, never, never.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Here's an interesting little quote. Henry Ford designed some of the first vehicles. Okay.
Automation.
Yeah.
Assembly line.
He's famously quoted as having said, "If you think you can, or if you think you can't, you are correct. Either way." Like, so your thinking influences your experiences,
so if
basically.
you think you can't overcome grief, that's true.
That's
can't.
true.
And if you think you can
That's
heal
true.
from grief, that's
Also.
true.
Yes. And in our world of science, we're like, well, I want to know what the scientific truth is. Like, you know, that's all, you know, what's the word, esoteric or whatever. I want to know the truth. What is the truth? Is grief healable or not, scientifically? And I don't think there's enough studies that have been done on it, first of all. So I don't know what science would say about this, but there is an excellent video on YouTube. Dr. Huberman, he talks about grief, and he talks very much about how it is a body phenomenon, and I watched his video after I had discovered that for myself, that it's very much a body phenomenon. So, you know, he's a scientist, he's studying stuff like this. So I think in our future.
And he was applying that specifically to grief?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And in fact, he went on to say there were certain breathing style that can calm the body, the grieving body. And I believe that to be true. In fact, I don't think there's just one. I think there are many breathing exercises that we can do to calm down the body. So this missing our loved one, wanting their body to be in our presence, is all about creating inside of us a body phenomenon, a body sense. Oh, it feels so good to have this person close to me, you know. And so there are ways to trick the body into feeling better. And I can't wait till science catches up to this and we start seeing this in real studies and real, you know, with real evidential, you know, outcomes. I think it's going to be an important work, but I don't think we need to wait for the science. If you want to experiment with feeling better, there are just so many ways to do that. You know, uh, if if somebody was going to tell you, here's an envelope, it has all that you need to know about healing grief. Here, take it and go do it. You know, A, B, and C equals D, like done. Um, I don't think it's going to be that scientifically accurate, okay, to heal grief. There's not a one formula fits all. Um, but the fact that I did it tells me that I know somebody else can do it too. And in fact, I know other people who have done it. And so, so the but again, it's a lot of body awareness is one of the things that worked for me. But here's an analogy of how why I think there are many ways to heal grief. You know, when you narrow something down to a formula, you're kind of eliminating other possibilities. So I was just telling Roger today, you know, if somebody's going to bake a cake, typically you would think the ingredients are flour, sugar, eggs, and oil. Okay? Like, that's, if you want to have a cake, you need flour, sugar, eggs, and oil. There's no way to have a cake without those ingredients. And that's a formula. And it's like, you're going to get a cake with those ingredients. But in today's world, you don't need to use flour. You can use ground up almonds, or you can use avocado. You can even put cocoa and spinach in a cake and still have a delicious chocolate cake. Okay, so there are many ways to get the experience of having cake. It's not just sugar, flour, eggs, and oil. Okay, and it's the same way with grief. There are many ways to calm the body, and is anybody interested in learning what those ways are? Like the ones that worked for me. Like there's tons of ways to do it, but I don't know if we can talk about this tonight, but
Yeah.
oh.
With love from Cal. Oh, hi there.
What is
your take on grieving within your dreams? I love that.
That's a great one.
Well, I don't know about. Yeah, I don't. Maybe you have something on that, but I know that I've had vivid dreams of interacting with a person who was recently deceased. He was my best friend, actually, and the dream was so thoroughly absorbing, and it was so much him that I have no doubt that this was like a real contact between the two of us. In fact, when I woke up and found myself, I happened to have been visiting Hawaii at the time, but my surroundings seemed less real in this world than the rich, vivid experience I had in that dream with him. It was pretty stunning. And I mean, I have no doubt that was a real contact with him shortly after he died. And he and I used to have a lot of fun together, and this was really fun in the dream. It was really a very nice experience.
I want to speak to grieving.
Yeah, grieving
within a dream.
Yeah.
I had that experience, and it was maybe a month or two after my son had died, and I was really kind of wanting a dream, you know, like, can't I at least dream about him? Like, I was really mad that, you know, that this experience had come into my life, and I thought, you know, the least life could do for me is give me some freaking dreams about him. Like, come on already. And so my very first dream with my son was very hazy and sort of misty, and it was like he was coming in and going out, and I remember I was like grasping at him. I was trying to like get at him, and I couldn't get him, and it was so frustrating, and I knew he was dead. I mean, I knew I was in pain and that I was trying to have an experience of getting to him, but I couldn't quite like get him, and it was so frustrating and maddening. And when I woke up, I just cried and cried and cried. I'm like, God damn it, I can't even have a decent dream about him. It was really disappointing. But yes, grief can enter into your dreams for sure. I think it also, I don't know all the psychological science or whatever about, what dreams mean and everything. Roger likes to dabble in that, but I think it represented where I was at that time. I was in such a deep state of sadness about his departure, and it just into that sadness, became a part of my dream processes too. In
It's a pretty graphic description of what was going on.
Yeah,
too. If
I
you're
was
grasping,
yeah, I was trying to grab him, and I couldn't get him. It was almost
get
like
him
he was
back.
like ducking away, like, I don't know. It was really strange, and disappointing. But in contrast, after I healed, I had a dream, and he was so clear and so present with me, and it was definitely a visitation style dream.
Right.
Like he was there, but he did not stay long. He was like, okay, I gave you your little tidbit of wisdom, I gotta go. And then he left, and I woke up, and I woke up happy. So see, in the contrast between an unhealed state dreaming and then a healed state dreaming, I didn't wake up sad that was only a dream. I woke up fulfilled. It was really nice. So, let's see.
Yeah, we're still there.
Okay.
With love from Cal just reemerged. So after asking that question,
Oh, with love from Cal, did you hear my answer to your
I don't
question?
think he did.
Let me
I
know.
don't know.
She's our gal.
Oh,
from-
she.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, from Cal.
yeah.
Of course. Okay,
Yes.
I know who that is.
So, if you missed the answer to your question, please let me know in the comments, and I will repeat it because I think it's worth repeating. So I really, yes, I logged me out only for a second, but I heard everything. Okay,
Oh,
good.
Okay,
I'm glad.
Thanks.
Yeah, dreams can be really wonderful or not. But it's just speaking to the state of your current experience, I think. Would you say that that's
That the
the quality of the dream might
I think
have?
there's different kinds of dreams, and I think the one you're talking about, the one you described, yeah, was a graphic way of restating your position. You were grasping, trying
Yeah.
to get him back. I think the one I described was a visitation. I mean,
Right.
he and I didn't even feel like he visited me. I felt like I visited him.
Oh.
Like I felt like I was in some other place. That's why I say when I came back to this reality, it felt foreign. It felt dull here, if you can imagine that.
Oh, nice.
And it was so vivid and amazing over there.
I
And
want one of those dreams.
It wasn't like, Wizard of Oz, everything is beautiful. It was more like ugly warehouses and stuff like that, but it was all bright, so bright and vivid. And we were just having a lot of fun, kind of like making fun of the whole thing. That's what he and I used to do a lot of. So, but I
Nice.
felt like I had gone there. Yeah.
Yeah. So getting, again, the reason we're doing these talks about grief, it really feels like it's my
Kiki
life.
baby.
It's my life purpose
Welcome.
to start this dialogue on the subject that grief is healable And I know I get resistance every time I say that. People are like, it is not. And I go, okay, but it is. You know, it's
Well,
like, what?
I was going to mention the woman whose little video clip you showed when she was in deep grief. She had the courage to post that on TikTok and got a
Mm-hmm.
million views, and you reposted 5 seconds of it, I think, and then we talked about it, and
Yeah.
she has discovered our videos, and I think you told me today that she said she's been watching them and
Mm-hmm.
finding comfort and doing better.
Yeah. That is really satisfying,
It's
you
amazing.
know.
Yeah.
Roger was telling me today, he's like, gosh, it almost feels like a lot of pressure for us to be like these experts on grief. And I said to him, I said, no, hun, we're not experts. We are sharing experience. I mean, we're educated, we've both worked in the mental health system and all of that, but what does it take to become an expert in something? It takes somebody telling you, oh, you're an expert in that. And maybe someday somebody will say I'm an expert in that, um, uh, or that Roger is, or we are. But
I think what makes us expert, if anything, is that we're willing to look at all sides of these issues and re-examine them as needed. So we're
mm-hmm.
really interested in people's input and feedback on this, and I'm hoping that as we do this, we're going to get more of that.
I actually welcome a conversation about, I would love to have someone say, yeah, I don't think grief is healable. And like, I want to talk about that. Like, okay, let's reason this out. Like, if it's a belief, like, you know, I believe it's healable because I had the experience of healing. Other people believe it's not healable because they've had the experience of it not healing. And so what is true? Well, they're both true, but what is the desired outcome? What do we want after, through a grieving experience? Do we want to come out on the other side and be okay on some level? Do we want to feel better? Can we even play with that question? Am I allowed to feel better? Is it possible? Um, you know, Playing with these and experimenting. Well, let's see if this works, or let's see if that works. There, like I was talking about baking a cake. There are many ways to bake a cake. Many different ingredients. You can still have a good experience at the end result. And that's what I really want for people, is to come in here and explore with us, and challenge us. If I say something that does not resonate with you, say, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, tell me. Like, maybe we can pick it apart and find out, where I'm miscommunicating, or where I'm misunderstanding, or vice versa. It's like, these conversations have to be had. The status quo for treating a grieving person is not acceptable anymore in this world. We have too many things available to us to help us feel better. And
What's the status quo?
of just accepting that grief is a way of life, and you just have to live with it and deal with it and get used to it, tolerate it. This real sort of, sorry about your bad luck, that's a bummer. Instead of saying this is an incredibly hard experience that does have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Like, if science could come up and say it is for sure a temporary thing, I just can't wait for that science to come out. And I know it's coming. It's just not here yet. But our dialogue is here, and this dialogue is going to fuel future studies that are going to take grieving people and have them practice various techniques, methods, things, you know. I went to the doctor today because I was having a little jaw pain. That might be TMJ. And I asked his nurse, I said, I'm just curious, how many grieving people
Oh, really?
do you think that the doctor sees in a typical week? And the nurse said, probably about 3 a week. Like
Wow.
3 people. Or was it 3 a week? Yeah, I think it was 3 a week. And I thought, that's not insignificant.
That's a lot.
And,
Kidding?
yeah. And to have that
Maybe they're
number of
coming to the
people.
doctor for help with how they're feeling.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, give
Or
me
maybe
some
they're getting sick because of how they're feeling.
emotional. We already know stress causes disease. The science has told us this one already. So I don't have the science in front of me. I can't quote it. I can't, but I'm pretty sure we all are in agreement that disease, stress can cause disease of the body, and grief is a form of stress, and so becoming. I think last night we had a woman in here who was having some physical symptoms as a result of the stress of grief, and so this is not uncommon, and so if stress through grief can cause body sickness, then there has to be a remedy, like we should be able to fix it. We should be able to turn it around. And I think what it is, it's a body sensation, a body phenomenon that has kind of run rampant through the body and needs to be reined in, and not in a stuffing your emotions or the nervous system, taking control of your own nervous system. And that's what I mean by a body sensation. Your nervous system is lit up when you're grieving. Yeah,
We are approaching an hour. Should we finish up for now?
Well, let's see if anybody has any burning desires for a particular question, or see what.
Let's see.
Let's go back and make sure we didn't miss anything. You can make a segment called the Healing Corner. I'm still curious what that really
You can
means.
make a segment.
Oh, you can.
They corrected that.
Oh, okay.
Called the Healing Corner.
Take the memories of them. Any questions?
Some people don't heal. Is that right? Did I see that right?
Yeah, J Words at the very beginning
at
of
the
our
beginning.
said some people don't heal, and we said yes, that's true. Some people don't. We addressed that, like my dad. So, anyways, again, it's such a privilege to be here with you all, talking about these important subjects. In the future, I am going to get into some of the formulas, methods, things I did that worked, things I did that didn't work. But I really wanted to, get some of these preliminary subjects out of the way first. So,
and we really encourage discussion on this and comments and sharing of experience, and so we're very interested in what people have to say.
Yeah, we enjoy the interactions for sure.
For sure.
So anyways, it's almost 7:00. I don't see any more questions coming in, so we will call it a night, and we'll be back again tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Pacific time, and invite your friends, family, and and join us in discussion. So,
Or people you may know who are in the midst of it.
oh yeah, if you know people who are in active grieving, I promise to be gentle, but invite them.
Maybe it can help.
You know, maybe we have something to offer.
Right.
And also watching, we're going to be making more videos. I can tell you this, I have a list almost 100 subjects long of things that I want to talk about. So what we've talked about in the last 2 days is just the very tip of all that is out
Scratch
there.
the surface.
So yeah, there's a lot of material here that we're gonna go through regarding the subject of grief. So yeah.
Okay.
So we hope you'll continue to join us in our future lives. And also, like I said last night, I'm going to say this again. You know, we're doing 10 days straight just as an introductory time of our first times being live here. And but we cannot maintain a daily schedule because, you know, we do other stuff too. But I want to know, like, are there days of the week, hours that are good? If you want to make a suggestion, you know, maybe we should have a morning live and an evening live and do it maybe like
I'm not
twice a
gonna do
week, or
morning live.
not an early morning because we're not early morning people. But, you know, like a daytime live and then an evening live, maybe something like that. We'd like to hear some feedback if that's something that sounds interesting to any of you. So thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific time.
Okay. Good night.
Bye.